Writer Stormy O'Martian tells that by the time she was a young woman, she was still locked in, but by boundaries that were emotional rather than physical. A deep and ever-present pain that expressed itself through self-destructive behavior and paralyzing fear. She says that I learned that unforgiveness, as deeply rooted as mine, needed to be unraveled one layer at a time. So how do you let go of bitterness and anger? Through forgiveness. But it doesn't usually happen quickly, and it doesn't often come easily. But once you decide to forgive, you'll be on your way to a more freeing and fulfilling future. Author and motivational speaker Bob Gass states that relationships don't thrive because the guilty are punished, but because the innocent are merciful. For me, as a Christian, my motivation for forgiving is that Christ forgave me, so I can forgive others. A lady writes, I found my husband with another woman. I filed for divorce, even though my children asked me not to. 2 years later, my husband was still trying to get back with me, but I was having none of it. He'd hurt me and I wanted revenge. Finally, he gave up and married a young widow with 2 children. He rebuilt his life without me. They're all so happy now, but I'm just a lonely, miserable woman who let bitterness ruin her life. You should understand that anger has stopped being a healthy emotion in your life and is now a driving force, when like a drug, you need larger and larger doses of it. It's what drives extremists and hate groups. After all, take away bigotry from the racist, revenge from the zealot, and chauvinism from the sexist. And what do you have left? Without anger, they have no energy at all. Bitterness is fatal, and it will destroy your soul. So how do you stop yourself from becoming bitter when you've been hurt? Well, by looking into the face of the one that has hurt you and seeing instead the face of the one who showed you mercy when no one else would have given you a second chance. And by realizing that before the day, the week, the month, or the year is through, you'll be needing mercy yourself. Yes, although sometimes people might hurt us intentionally, but often a time, a harsh word or mean-spirited behavior is just the result of someone's own insecurities, difficulties in life, or poor attempts to brush off hard times. And especially in times like those, the only person you're hurting by hanging on to that anger is yourself. See, that person may not even have begun to realize the impact of their behavior on someone else. In times like those, by hanging on to anger, the only person you're hurting is yourself. So let go of it. Also, often a time, people move on in life. They learn from their mistakes and they move on. They see the past as water under a bridge. But if you hang on to bitterness and anger, even though the hurt, the reality of the hurt that occurred in the past was a reality then, by hanging on to anger and bitterness, you relive it time and time again. And not only are you stuck in the past, but you're clouding your judgment in the present. Surely, in the game of life, you want to take the high road and you want to win. So do it by forgiving. Don't seek out revenge. Don't seek out a way to make somebody miserable. The only person you have control over is yourself. So forgive and move on. Don't let anger and bitterness mold you into an angry and insecure person. Don't become bitter. Become better. Stormy prayed, God, give me a heart after your own for my mother. And she says that in an instant, she began to see her mother as a beautiful, fun-loving, gifted woman with no resemblance to how she had remembered her. You see, she had begun seeing her mother the way God had made her to be, rather than the person she had become. What a revelation! In an instant, she was able to put together pieces from her past. Her mother's tragic death, the suicide of her beloved uncle and foster father, feelings of guilt, abandonment, and unforgiveness. An accurate perspective into the heart of God brought such forgiveness that Stormy says that when her mother passed away, she had no bad feelings towards her at all. In fact, she says that the more I forgave, the more God brought good memories. You see, people are often the way that they are because of the way life has shaped them, and only God knows their history. But to enjoy everything that God has for you, pray a prayer of release and let go of the past. Only then can you move forward.